Welcome to the Olive Grove Podcast. Today we're embarking on a special deep dive just for you, the learner. We'll be exploring some fascinating excerpts from MCS Song of Songs, Chapter 2.
That's right. We're focusing on themes like relationship, being set apart, and divine love, all seen through this ancient text.
Think of it as unlocking some maybe surprising insights from a passage you might think you know.
Absolutely. And the source we're drawing from is a study on the My Christian Space website presented by Virtual Pastor.
Right, and it subtitles this chapter, The Song of Sanctification.
Yeah, and that phrase itself, sanctification, really hints at the core idea, being set apart in a unique relationship.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit.
Yeah.
Our mission today is really to pull out the most compelling nuggets from this study.
Right. Help you, the learner, grasp the main metaphors and what they might mean without getting too bogged down in, every single detail.
Exactly. We're looking at how this study uses the imagery in Song of Songs to talk about a really personal, exclusive kind of connection.
So the study kicks off by looking at the young woman's self-description. That's in Song of Songs 2, verses 1 and 2.
Where she says, I am but a rose from the Sharon, just a lily in the valleys.
Yes. And what's interesting, as the study points out, is that the Rose of Sharon probably wasn't the flower we picture today. Roses didn't really exist in Israel back then.
Oh, really? So what was it?
Likely a type of lily, something found on the Sharon Plain. That's the area stretching from Mount Carmel down towards Tel Aviv.
Okay, so she has this humble view of herself, just a lily. But then Solomon comes in, verse 2, with a different take.
Right. He sees her like a lily among thorns compared to others. And this is where the study draws a powerful parallel for believers.
How so?
Well, the interpretation is that accepting Yeshua sets someone apart from the world. It gives them a special kind of beauty in God's eyes. That's the core of sanctification, being set apart.
Being made holy, right.
Exactly. But it's this interesting paradox, isn't it? You're set apart, but the study notes you still exist among the thorns.
So not totally removed from the world.
No, not isolated. The idea is to stand out like that lily, to be a witness within the world, maintaining that distinct presence.
Okay, that makes sense. Then the imagery shifts a bit in verses 3 to 5. Now the young woman is describing Solomon.
Yes, she calls him like an apple tree among the other trees in the forest.
But wait. The source material clarifies this too, doesn't it? The apple tree thing.
It does. Good point. Again, apples weren't really grown there then. It was most likely an orange tree.
An orange tree. That definitely paints a slightly different picture.
It does, and the study highlights the significance. An orange tree is one that actually produces fruit.
Okay.
This is set in contrast to, say, the pagan gods of the time, which the study argues couldn't truly work in people's lives. They didn't bear fruit, so to speak.
So the sweet fruit of this orange tree, what does that symbolize?
According to the study, it represents the joy produced by the Holy Spirit when someone accepts Yeshua, that real, tangible result.
And the metaphors just keep building. She talks about being brought to the banquet hall and his banner over me is love.
The study links that banquet hall to the great celebration expected at the end of days, suggesting the Holy Spirit guides believers towards that.
And the banner? That's an interesting image.
It really is. The study connects it to the banners the tribes of Israel used when they left Mount Sinai. Those banners clearly showed which family, which tribe you belong to.
So the banner of love is about identification, belonging to God's family.
That's the interpretation presented, yes. Identification through the Holy Spirit. The study even references the sealing of the 144,000 in Revelation 7, tying it to this idea of being marked, identified as God's people.
Wow, okay. Moving to verse 6, Song of Songs 2.6. We get this very intimate picture. I wish his left arm were under my head and his right arm around me.
It's a deeply personal image, isn't it? An embrace.
Definitely. How does the study interpret that closeness?
It sees it as signifying a deeply personal nature of the relationship with Yeshua. It's not something inherited or based just on earthly family ties.
So it's cautioning against just identifying as Christian because your family is.
That seems to be the point the study's making. This embrace symbolizes a personal desire, a personal choice for that relationship, much like the woman's longing here. It's about individual connection.
Then in verse 7, there's a shift. The young woman warns the daughters of Jerusalem.
Yes, she urges them not to awaken or stir up love until it wants to arise.
Don't force it, basically.
Pretty much. The study looks at the Hebrew word used there, yer, and suggests it means something like to open one's eyes.
Implying you can't force someone to see or accept salvation.
That's the interpretation. This awakening of love for the divine, it has to unfold naturally, guided by the Spirit. It can't be coerced.
So what's the role of believers then, according to this view?
To help others understand that call, the work of the Holy Spirit, and, what discipleship actually looks like. Supporting, not forcing.
Okay. Then verses 8 and 9, the energy changes again.
Yeah.
She hears her beloved coming.
Yes. Bounding over the mountains, skipping over the hills. There's this real eagerness.
He's compared to a gazelle or a young stag.
Capturing that youthful energy, that tireless pursuit, the study suggests.
And then he's pictured standing outside the wall, watching, waiting.
Which the study interprets as quite comforting. A reminder that even when we feel alone, maybe stuck behind our own walls, Yeshua is present, watching, waiting for the right moment.
That leads right into his invitation of verse 10, doesn't it?
It does. Get up, my love, my beauty, come away.
Such powerful words. The study compares it to a marriage proposal.
Yeah, that kind of life-changing, unforgettable call to a new, profound relationship, that moment of invitation.
And it raises the question of what makes believers beautiful in Yeshua's eyes.
Right, and the study's answer is humility, acknowledging our need for him, our dependence on him for salvation.
So for you, the learner, listening now, the idea is that your faith, even when things are tough, has this inherent beauty recognized by God.
Exactly. It's not just about getting through. It's about reflecting that connection.
Then, verses 11 to 13 compare this new relationship to springtime.
Yes. Winter's past, everything's new, birds are singing, flowers are blooming. A time of new beginnings.
A season traditionally associated with love and new life. The study even mentions dopamine, the chemical, linked to anticipation and pleasure.
Linking that natural feeling to the spiritual joy of this new relationship.
Now, before we go further, let's talk about the dove and the foxes in verses 14 and 15.
Okay. The beloved calls her my dove, who is hiding in the rocks.
And the dove, since Noah's time, has symbolized peace, right?
Correct. Which the study contrasts sharply with the fox, a symbol of cunning, trickery, something destructive.
So these little foxes mentioned in verse 15, they're trying to ruin the vineyards.
Yes. The study interprets the vineyards as believers' lives, their spiritual fruitfulness. The little foxes are those small, insidious things, maybe doubts, temptations, worldly distractions that threaten the peace and fruitfulness of that relationship with God.
Things sent by the devil is how the study frames it.
Yes, representing that opposition. And the warning is clear. Deal with these little foxes while they're still small.
Before they cause major damage to the vineyard, to your life and faith.
Exactly. Don't let them run rampant.
And finally, we reach verses 16 and 17, that powerful declaration.
My darling is mine and I am his. That mutual belonging, that exclusivity.
A real statement of commitment and security.
Absolutely. And the study adds the comforting thought that the Lord watches over believers like a shepherd, especially during dark or difficult times, the shadows mentioned.
And the image of him returning like a stag on the hills. A promise of his presence.
Yes, a sense of anticipation for his return or intervention.
Wow. It's really a chapter packed with layers of meaning when you look at it through this lens.
It really is.
Yeah.
These metaphors paint such a rich picture of a personal, exclusive, and transformative relationship.
So for the learner listening, the takeaway seems to be that this faith journey isn't passive. It's deeply personal, it sets you apart in a beautiful way, and it requires actively nurturing that connection.
I think that's a great summary, recognizing the beauty that comes from humility, but also staying alert to those little foxes that can disrupt the peace.
That idea of being a lily among thorns really sticks with me. Set apart, beautiful, but still right there in the midst of everyday life.
Mm-hmm. It definitely gives you something to reflect on how we live out that unique bond in the world around us.
It really does. We hope this exploration has given you, the learner, some valuable insights and maybe a fresh way to think about this passage.
And we definitely encourage you to keep reflecting on these themes.
Now, this feels like a good moment to mention. If you want to explore these ideas further and connect with others, consider joining the My Christian Space community online.
Oh, absolutely. It's a great place for more discussion, resources, and just connecting with people on a similar journey. Community can be so valuable.
Definitely. And speaking of community and support, we also want to highlight the important work of Enduring Freedom Ministries.
Yes, they do some really impactful work.
One of their key goals right now is establishing a food pantry in Jerusalem, Israel.
Which is such a vital initiative, providing essential support right there in the local community. A fundamental need.
It really is. So if you feel moved by their mission and you'd like to help make this food pantry in Jerusalem a reality, we'd encourage you to consider making a donation.
Every little bit helps, truly. Your support can make a real, tangible difference.
You can find details on how to contribute on the Enduring Freedom Ministries website. We'll make sure there's information available.
Great. It's a worthy cause.
Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into Song of Songs Chapter 2 here on the Olive Grove Podcast.
It's been a great discussion.
To catch future explorations like this, and maybe even get early access, be sure to subscribe to the Olive Grove Podcast right here on YouTube.
And do check out the My Christian Space website as well for more resources and updates.
We hope this conversation has given you some valuable insights and definitely some food for thought. Until next time.